Hi everyone! Today we'll be talking about one of my favorite bands, as you may be able to tell by the shirt. We're talking Gorillaz. Now I've had the pleasure of listening to their discography for the past 2 weeks to come up with the cream of the crop. I'm calling this, undeniably, the top 10 best Gorillaz songs. Just to stir things up a little bit, I'll have my pick for an overrated song at the end. But in the meantime, let's get to the top 10. At number 10, we have Andromeda from Humans. Following Plastic Beach, there was a very public falling out between musical maverick Damon Albarn and master animator extraordinaire Jamie Hewlett that looked like it might be the end for the Gorillaz project. Thankfully, after some time and with the help of a few drinks, 2 years later they agreed to bring back the world's most famous virtual band. The duo methodically planned the next LP, Humans. It would be the Gorillaz' first release in 7 years. Damon Albarn decided to work with hip-hop producer Anthony Khan, aka the Twilight Tone, and decided early on the vibe should be like a party at the end of the world. Specifically, they envisioned a chilling future where Donald Trump would win the election to become the US president, and they tried to envision throwing the ultimate rave in this strange, fantastical world. Of course, that once unthinkable event ended up becoming reality, but the frightening what if spurred Albarn and Khan to create an urgent, soulful soundtrack. Andromeda jams with a house bounce and a heavy heart. The mother of Damon's wife had recently died, and it led him to a sentimental, meditative mood on mortality and the preciousness of life. Albarn pictured her spirit among her beloved astronomy, and the song is layered with spacey constellation synths as he encourages his partner to be brave in these painful times, crooning, "Take it in your heart now, lover, take it in your heart." Despite its weighty subject, undulating low end and a steady digital clap keep the mood optimistic, as if the music grants you the strength to carry on. Andromeda is cosmic, emotionally vulnerable drum and bass, and the beating heart of Humans. At number 9, we have Tomorrow Comes Today, from the album titled Gorillaz. The origins of our animated anti-heroes can be traced back to a London flat shared by Jamie Hewlett and Damon Albarn after both had gotten out of highly publicized relationships. One day, the pair had MTV on, and they couldn't help but lay into the artificial, substance-free boy bands that dominated the network, which led them to the idea of making up their own manufactured group. Hewlett started brainstorming and creating the players. There was Murdoch Nichols on bass, who resembled a satanic Keith Richards and assembled the band in search of fame. 2D, the dopey frontman with boyish good looks. Noodle, a prepubescent Japanese female that was an expert at martial arts and guitar. And Russell Hobbs on drums, whose key backstory of being possessed by spirits of dead musicians would be the inspiration for the frequent use of MCs and collaborators on their records. Gorillaz gave Damon Albarn a different musical outlet. He felt constricted by the types of music he could bring to Blur. With a clean slate, he was liberated to branch into genres and rhythms that didn't suit the Britpop stalwarts. Albarn initially started working on the album alone, until he decided the sessions could use a bit more focus, and he enlisted the help of producer Dan the Automator Nakamura, whose expansive hip-hop background would reshape existing songs and set the tone for their debut. Tomorrow Comes Today was the first music video from Gorillaz that served as the introduction to the group. The song doesn't feature any guest that would become the band's hallmark. Instead, it's an understated slow burn, sung laconically by Damon's avatar, 2D. He openly worries about sacrificing the future for the present over a dusty trip-hop shuffle and floating melodica, exhaling, "Yeah, yeah, I'll pay when tomorrow comes today." It's as if he's expecting the worst is on the way, but the vibe is so chill, he remains calm as he waits for the storm to arrive. Despite its downbeat attitude, Tomorrow Comes Today is a low-key bluesy stunner that showed the potential in the nascent cartoon supergroup. At number 8, we have The Valley of the Pagans from Song Machine Season 1, Strange Times. In January 2020, Gorillaz announced their new project, Song Machine, would not be a traditional album. Instead, their new music would be released as a season. Damon said a typical LP was too constricting, and this was a way to quickly reveal new tracks without bureaucratic label delays. Every month, a new episode and song would be released, comprising the first series. March's episode would be delayed after the COVID-19 pandemic lockdowns went into effect, but it would continue on throughout the worldwide rough year. giving fans in isolation a new song to geek out about every few weeks. Each episode featured previously unannounced guests, and Song Machine included even more star-studded names than usual, from Elton John to Robert Smith to Schoolboy Q. The Valley of the Pagans was the final single from Season 1 and featured alternative rock icon Beck. It was primarily recorded at Alburn's home in Devon, England, in the height of the pandemic, under the working title West Hollywood. The song sputters along, with a creeping, slippery bass line and a head-bobbing bounce, as Beck raps about cruising back to WeHo. On the refrain, synth pads trumpet like a digital horn section, as he sings in a light falsetto, "Feels so good to have a perfect song. It feels so good to be in total control." The song gradually builds, adding detuned guitar scronks and sparkling rainbow keyboard, until it erupts into the song's catchiest earworm, where Damon duets on the melody with a vintage synthesizer. "In a valley made of mirrors, oh the light is so bright, you could feel like a pagan, you could feel like a pagan." Sounding so buoyant, it's almost an advert for debauchery. The Valley of the Pagans is hedonistic hot fire, and a song made to be cranked to the max on your car stereo. At number 7, we have Stylo from Plastic Beach. For Gorillaz' third album, Plastic Beach, Alburn decided to produce the album solo, with no co-producer. On sessions, he aimed for big, clear melodies, with a vast array of collaborators. Alburn called it the most pop record he's ever made, and its eclectic cast makes quite a circus of talent. The headliners were Lou Reed, Snoop Dogg, and Bobby Womack, among the many cameos, and also, notably, the Syrian National Orchestra for Arabic Music, whose orchestral textures tie the album together. The result is futuristic, luxurious, symphonic hip-hop. Womack appears on Stylo, but the Across 110th Street singing soul legend was skeptical of the band. You could understand. He was in his late 60s after all. On Stylo, Damon told Bobby to sing whatever came to mind, and his vocals are space gospel as he sings of electric love. The star power was originally not even going to end there on the cut. Barry Gibb from the Bee Gees was supposed to record vocals, but canceled at the last minute. Stylo has an electro crack funk pulse, with a hypnotic synth line and a low bass frequency rumble. Mos Def slings free and easy bars over the metronome beat as Damon sings to the titular Stylo, apparently some allegorical goddess of Plastic Beach. The plot of the album always seemed a little wishy-washy to me, but it was hard to deny when the songs jam like this. Gloriously paired with a video featuring a car chase with the band being pursued by Bruce Willis, Stylo rides with beyond Thunderdome synthesizers, trunk-rattling bass, and serious attitude. At number 6, we have New Gold from Cracker Island. After a season of Song Machine, Alburn and Hewlett envisioned a full animated movie with Netflix. They worked on it for 2 years, but it would later be canceled by the streaming giant for some infuriating reason. Instead, Damon pivoted to making another traditional album and would work with Greg Kurstin, a super producer who co-wrote hits for Adele. Cracker Island has a wealth of headline-grabbing A-listers, from Bad Bunny to Stevie Nicks, and it boasts impeccable clean production that makes the concise 10-song set addictive. Damon Albarn had jammed with Kevin Parker of Aussie psych rockers Tame Impala back in 2020 and hinted that a collaboration would be part of Song Machine, but the song never felt truly finished. Albarn was ready to move on from the song, but Greg Kurstin encouraged him to revisit it. Damon would bring the song to Booty Brown of The Far Side, who had previously rapped on Dirty Harry. Brown added 2 live wire verses, and New Gold was realized. Wavy synthesizers wind around the stereo spectrum, and when Kevin Parker's trippy, sugary sweet vocal round starts, an alarm goes off. A beat drops, and Booty rhymes with a mission, navigating the jungle of modern life. And in the bridge, he asks, "Are we all losing our minds?" Damon warns of our worship of false social media idols. New gold, fool's gold, everything will disappear. The word disappear repeats and trails off into the ether, as if caught in a doom-scrolling spell, while the unstoppable groove swallows it whole. Cracker Island proves that the Gorillaz still have plenty of lives to live. Its highlight is New Gold, and its 5-alarm funky space disco. At number 5, we have Dare from Demon Days. While their first album was a big hit, Hewlett and Albarn wanted to continue the project as soon as possible to prove it wasn't a gimmick. So once Damon was done with the think tank tour for Blur, he leapt back into the world of Gorillaz. Their eponymous debut was a daft grab bag of styles, no doubt some of which had been knocking around Damon's head for years. Demon Days is a more cohesive collection of turn-of-the-century hip-hop. Albarn enlisted Brian Burton, aka Danger Mouse, a producer who had recently gained notoriety for mashing up Jay-Z's Black Album with the Beatles' White Album. The pair found they spoke a similar musical language, and together, over 8 months, would work with another impressive list of talent. Dare began as a song called People, the demo of which could be heard on D-Sides, the companion album to Demon Days, where it has a similar beat and some identical sound effects. Damon would recruit former Happy Mondays frontman Sean Ryder to sing on the track, asking him to sing the refrain, "It's There." Due to Ryder's thick Mancunian accent, it sounded like he was singing, "It's Dare." So that's what they rolled with. For the digital group, the main vocalist is Noodle, who for this record was sung by Rosie Wilson, who does her best Donna Summer dancing queen. Wilson's lead mixed with Damon's pitched up falsetto do the melodic get down on the catchy chorus. You've got to press it on you. You've just been thinking that's what you do, baby. Hold it down there. A pulsing electro rhythm keeps the dance floor burning, alongside shimmering synthesizer and stuttering sampling. Dare would give Gorillaz their first ever UK #1 hit, and it's well deserved. It's a mesmerizing, robotic rave up that's impossible not to bust a move to. At number 4, we have 19-2000 from the album titled Gorillaz. Through the years, Gorillaz have come up with several unique setups to go on tour. For their first album, the entire band would play behind a giant screen, where Jamie Hewlett's visuals were projected. This made for a bit of an awkward show for both the musicians and the audience. The band couldn't get to feed off their energy, and the crowd couldn't see the talented ensemble. For Demon Days events, the musicians weren't completely covered by a screen. However, due to lighting trickery, only their silhouettes were visible. Albarn and Hewlett even toyed with the idea of a full holographic tour using Musion eyeliner technology that was developed for their animated group's Grammy performance. But the sheer logistics and money involved made it impossible. From Plastic Beach onward, the band would tour in a more normal stage setup, with the full cast of musicians vibing on stage and the electric accompanying visuals displayed on jumbotrons. As cool as a holographic tour sounds, it's hard to beat the excitement of a live band with fantastic music, going for the moment right there in front of your eyes. Still, the graphics were always integral to Gorillaz' mystique, which is why Jamie Hewlett directed the majority of their music videos. 19-2000 was one of their earliest, and featured the band in their Jeep cruising a roller coaster track highway and launching rockets at a giant moose. The track has a carefree, wind-in-your-hair aura, with chirpy 8-bit video game chiptune and a nonsense sing-song refrain. They're doing the funk. Miho Hattori, who sang for Noodle on their first LP, hers get the cool shoes shine, backed up by Tina Weymouth from Talking Heads. Their gleeful, childlike vocals are surrounded by bubbling synthesizers, making it sound like you're on the sweetest sugar high. 19-2000 is a simple pop song that's far too easy to get stuck in your head. At number 3, we have On Melancholy Hill from Plastic Beach. Following the smashing success of their second LP, Albarn's and Hewlett's ambitions became grander. They worked on an opera based on a classic Chinese novel titled Monkey, Journey to the West, that would premiere in 2007. And Albarn would say it should be considered Gorillaz, but legally, they couldn't call it that. The working title for their next project was Carousel. The duo described it as a film with multiple narratives that involved the mystical aspects of Britain. The idea was originally developed for the screen, and then they expanded its scope to the stage as well. I guess it had to be lengthy because at the time, Damon had written nearly 70 songs for inclusion. At some point though, Carousel proved too lofty of a vision, and instead, some of its themes and concepts would evolve into Plastic Beach. Its title was partly inspired by the marine pollution Albarn found floating near his home, as well as a trip to a landfill in Mali. There, among the mounds of rubbish, he found a thriving ecology of different species building a home. And he found a strange optimism in the young reptiles sleeping among the discarded plastic bags. Even amid decaying, man-made waste, life finds a way to survive. On Melancholy Hill glides on a wistful, dreamlike feeling. Warm washes of synthesizers ebb and flow like the ocean, with the chipper, monophonic hook beckoning like a siren call. Originally written for Damon's other side project, The Good, the Bad, and the Queen, it's the band at its most overtly pop. Paul Simonon's floating bass line paces the rhythm, while Damon tenderly sings, "'Cause you are my medicine when you're here with me," as gorgeous, ghostly harmonies sway along. On Melancholy Hill is a beautiful, big-hearted pop anthem so full of hope that its naivety waxes nostalgic. At number 2, we have Clint Eastwood from the album titled Gorillaz. Everything about the debut single from Gorillaz seemed determined by fate. Damon had bought a Stone Age keyboard instrument called the Omnichord, and one day he was mucking around with it and put on the first studio preset. The ancient instrument played that infamous 2-chord progression, bum 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 bum, over a lurching beat, like a gift from the heavens, ready to be made a hit. Del the Funky Homo Sapien, cousin of Ice Cube and underground hip-hop hero, wasn't even going to be on the track, let alone steal the show. Clint Eastwood was already finished, with verses by British rap crew Phi Life Cypher. But co-producer Dan Nakamura had been working with Del on another record and convinced him to rhyme over the beat. Del would say he utilized the book How to Write a Hit Song, given to him by his mother, and proceeded to write and record his verses in 30 minutes, and his flow is full of fire. That book should be a bestseller. Thanks, Ma. Clint Eastwood gets its name from the melody gently borrowed from his famous spaghetti western, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Da-da-da-da. Played on a reedy melodica. The line "Sunshine in a Bag," long assumed as a drug reference, is also another callback to the film. Recorded in Jamaica, it has a dance hall flavor. The reggae funeral march rhythm moves slowly, as Damon sings detached and ominous, "I'm useless, but not for long, the future is coming on." Del comes out guns blazing, flexing his delivery and cadence skills on some unforgettable bars that are so easy on the ears he makes it childlike in nature. Rhythm, you have it or you don't, that's a fallacy. Clint Eastwood is a supernatural banger, full of swagger and style that turn two-dimensional creations into legitimate international rock stars. At number 1, we have Feel Good Inc. from Demon Days. In the downtime following their debut, Damon had taken his family on an eye-opening trip through rural China, and seeing beautiful regions living in abject poverty informed the dour feel of Demon Days. He would call the album a depiction of a journey through the night, in which each track represents a confrontation with a personal demon, and its lyrics would center around the vices and misdeeds of humanity and our collective march towards doomsday. On the monster single Feel Good Inc., Alburn holds a magnifying glass to consumerism and our endless quest for indulgence. PA Pacemaster Mace kicks it off with a sinister belly laugh before the slithering bass line kicks the song into high gear, and Alburn repeats the dopamine 2-word refrain, "Feel good." His voice is partially obscured as he sees the masses fill the streets for the latest fad and its ephemeral style, though he admits joining the stampede is appealing to see. While the verses feature Danger Mouse's snappy, driving program beats, the chorus pulls back and opens up with a light acoustic strumming and sparkling synthesizers. With all our focus on instant gratification, Damon implores us to search beyond quick rewards and look after each other, singing passionately, "Love forever, love is free, let's turn forever, you and me," ending the chorus inviting us to take part in this karmic revolution. Then, Trugoy the Dove from De La Soul appears and raps with a belly full of petrol. His bars are an animated call to arms. "Gun bite the dust, can't fight with us. With your sound we kill the ink." His rhymes dance over the nimble, unstoppable rhythm, so confident in its world-conquering, freedom-fighting manifesto. Feel Good Inc. is killer 21st century hip-shaking hip-hop that beckons us out of the manufactured monotony of the masses to join a coup d'etat of creativity, to reject our AI overlords, and revere music for the people, created by the people. It's both a rousing plea for empathy and understanding, and a dangerously funky dance floor burner meant to make you feel good. Feel Good Inc. is truly an exceptional triumph of modern music and Gorillaz at their very best. And now, I'll add two more songs that almost made the list. The first near miss would be 5-4. The punchy punk rocker was initially intended to be the single to follow Clint Eastwood, until it was passed over for 2000. There were even storyboards for the video in progress, and the animatic can be seen on YouTube. The song's title refers to 5-4 time signature. However, the song and most of the instruments are in common time. Only the gnarled guitar riff is in 5-4, and its juxtaposition adds to the song's grinding off-kilter rhythm. Over a grimy, industrial stomp, Damon mumbles the bratty verse vocals, and in the chorus, erupts with a synthesizer screaming like an emergency siren as he howls, "She turned my dad on, dad on, dad on, dad on." The anarchy continues to escalate, piling on a wall of noise until ending with punishing subwoofer rattling pulses. 5-4 is a full-blown freakout, meant for the mosh pit and Gorillaz at their most feral. The other to nearly make the list is Empire Ants. An epic track from Plastic Beach, it starts off with cascading twinkling piano, light guitar strums, and a lo-fi beat, as Damon dreams about sailing out the doldrums of the week. After a little over 2 minutes, a waterfall of synthesizers fade up, disrupting the melancholic weariness. The song switches gears entirely when a club-ready heavy Moog bass hits and Yukimi Nagano from Swedish electro band Little Dragon appears. Her voice soars as she sings of all the common people, punching the clock like ants, your little feet working the machine. On Empire Ants, beautifully moody, ornate pop morphs into a righteous banger for the working class. It definitely deserves to be mentioned among their best. Finally, let's talk about what I consider to be the most overrated song from Gorillaz, and that is Humility, the lead single from the lackluster album The Now Now. I was somewhat stunned to find out the video has 117 million views on YouTube. Do most people even remember how that song goes? Humility is incredibly lightweight, so much so that it can't help but slip in one ear and out the other. It's not particularly surprising, there isn't a lot of meat on its bones. The Now Now, like The Fall, feels more like an afterthought to the album that came shortly before it. The Fall's entire press line was that Damon recorded the whole thing on his iPad while the band was on tour, and the Now Now would similarly be written while on tour. Albarn wanted to have new material for the next leg of the tour, so he banged out recording the album in a few weeks during a brief break he had back in London. The rushed nature can be felt, with a batch of songs that could have used a little more time in the oven. Humility is one of the few tracks on the album that features a guest, adding some breezy jazz guitar from legend George Benson. But even that is kind of lost within the fairly bland yacht rock. The rhythm moves at a lazy day-glow pace, with cheesy new wave synthesizers and Damon singing apathetically like he's off on holiday. Both the verse and chorus have the same exact melody, and the repetition wears thin when it's also echoed again on aggressively upbeat keyboards. The song's pina colada beach vibes are a little too saturated, almost boring in its banal simplicity, and lacking the sparks that created some of the most inventive pop music ever laid to wax. I have a hard time believing Humility would make most fans' top 10 list, and yet somehow it's Gorillaz' 7th most popular song. That is borderline mental. It might be their weakest single. To me, I can't help but think it's overrated. As you're still watching, I wanted to share a deep cut as well. For that, I'm shining a light on Spitting Out the Demons. If you've never listened to D-sides with the scraps from the Demon Days sessions, you are missing out. There are so many fantastic tracks on it that it honestly rivals several official LPs from the group. It's completely essential. Spitting Out the Demons is my favorite track. It kicks off with heavily distorted dubby bass and razor-sharp funk guitar licks strutting over an in-the-pocket groove that's so addictive that the jam rides for nearly 3 minutes before any singing starts. Over the tight beat, Damon sounds off the cuff yet in the zone, as he equates Spitting Out the Demons with Good Times. Somehow, one of Gorillaz' filthiest joints was cut from the album and regulated to a D-side. If you aren't familiar, you should definitely check it out. So there you have it. That was undeniably the top 10 best Gorillaz songs. So, how wrong was I? Do you agree? Do you disagree? What's your list look like? Do you think Humility is one of their best songs? Let me know. And if there's any artists you'd like to see me rank, let me know in the comments below. Hope you stick around, and thank you for watching. Had gotten out of Albarn Elish song to Giga. Albern were blah, blah. Events, the muses. Get the cool. Get the cool. Okay.
What a written right
I know. All of a sudden, I just had something in my throat.